NBN's local sports news tonight. The Newcastle Rebels through to the men's country championships final. Who are now through to the men's country championship finals after beating the South Coast Dragons with a historic 30-point victory. It was just massive for Newcastle, who were just too strong for their rivals right over the weekend.
Goal line defence, holding Pike units, bounce off.
It's something you never see before. But in round 2 of the men's country championships, it was the Newcastle Rebels that, of course, had the best tries to score.
Roll it out. They've got plenty stacked on this short side, and that's where I thought Hughes was going. But he goes to the open, tries to get through. There's the little number 9.
But of course, the Rebels struck back.
I tell you what.
And of course, the Newcastle Rebels struck and had the lead at 14-4.
Boyle back inside straight away.
Before the Illawarra South Coast Dragons secured a try of their own and trying to get back in the lead.
And the Dragons have scored.
Even though they were on 10.
Boyle scheme.
But thankfully, the Newcastle Rebels ran fast with the ball and being unstoppable right throughout the game.
But a mistake from Jones has seen
and scoring a lot of tries.
180 and then score what could be a match-winning try. I know 20 minutes left.
Going up with a 20-10 second half lead. And of course, the Newcastle Rebels unstoppable. It was just spectacular for the Rebels. They then led 24-10.
And Cameron Anderson will score. Strong ball runner.
Also,
tries to steal it off him though.
Of course, the last one came from the Rebels themselves.
Clune again. They have got some on the short side. This side, Anderson.
Because of that, the Rebels managed to score just on time.
There you go, son. Have a
with Newcastle through to the finals.
Bradley, no problems at all. You could see the short side. It was.
Also, the final score was, of course, 30-10.
And there's the ball put in the air. Where's he going to land?
Also to the other ones and in the women's. And, of course, the Knights had a 2-point win over the West Tigers, just like the men's, right up at Campbelltown Stadium in Sydney. While the Central Coast Roosters have a game on Monday against the St. George Dragons. Meantime, the Steelers had a win over the Bulldogs on Saturday. Also, there were good results up in round 2 of the Jersey Flag Cup as the Sharks had a win over the Eels. The Bulldogs defeated the Dragons, while South Sydney managed to survive with a field goal win over the Panthers, while the Storm defeated the Sea Eagles. Also, the Knights were not good after going down to the West Tigers. Also, the Canberra Raiders went down to the Sydney Roosters. Meanwhile, there are much better news up in the SG Ball Cup. And of course, in round 6 of the competition, the Eels had a 20-16 win over the Sharks, while St. George had a 30-22 win over the Sea Eagles. Meantime, the Steelers had a win up in Wollongong, 54-4. Also, the Panthers had a win, 40-22, while the Knights and Magpies shared the points, 32 all. And the Bulldogs had a 60-6 win over the Storm. And of course, the Sydney Roosters had a 46-12 win over the Warriors. Good news for the Canberra Raiders. They beat the North Sydney Bears 54-10. And of course, excellent results in the Harvey Norman Tasha Gale Cup competition, and it's in round 6 as well. The Sharks had a win over the Eels, while the Panthers had a win over the Rabbitohs. Meanwhile, the Bulldogs had a win over the Steelers, while the Sea Eagles had a victory over the Dragons. It was much successful for the Knights, defeating the West Tigers. Also, the Raiders and North Sydney Bears shared the points. While it was simply the best up at round 6 of the Harold Matthews Cup, as the Dragons defeated the Sea Eagles, while the Tigers defeated the Steelers 30-28. Also, the Panthers and the Rabbitohs were forced to share the points. Meantime, the Knights defeated the Magpies 30-24. Also, the Central Coast Roosters were unsuccessful, going down to the Bulldogs 18-10. And of course, the finals will be held next weekend, with Riverina up against the Northern Rivers Titans, which will start at 11:30 a.m. And of course, the Newcastle Maitland Region Knights are up against the Colts up at Murray Breen Oval on the Central Coast in the Andrew Johns Cup semi-final this Saturday at 12 p.m. And of course, the Knights are hoping to get the best result better. And of course, the Central Coast Roosters are hoping to beat the Macarthur West Tigers at home. But also, it will be different up in the Laurie Daly Cup semi-finals, with the Newcastle Maitland Region Knights taking on the Colts up at the same venue. And of course, Newcastle Maitland Region are playing on Saturday. And of course, I'm hoping that the Knights can get the job done. And of course, the Greater Northern Tigers are taking on the Illawarra South Coast Dragons in Wollongong. And of course, I'm hoping that there'll be a Northern New South Wales side in the grand final. To the NBL 1 East, and it was a massive one for the women. And of course, the Maitland Mustangs managed to secure a victory over the Illawarra Hawks.
What a shot!
It's a game that all of us have been waiting to return. And of course, it was the match between Maitland and Illawarra. And also, because of that, the Mustangs led first. And of course, the match was just 100% exciting for the Mustangs.
Gets the lead back for the Mustangs.
It was just amazing for the Mustangs.
Hunter.
It was just too strong for their rivals, the Illawarra Hawks.
Two impactful players there for the Hawks.
With Maitland leading 52-50, now 54-50.
So Fox brings it up.
With Maitland's women now on the good verge of securing a victory.
Absolutely, and Hunter dribbles.
They led 62-53 right throughout the game.
Straight away. Oh, thanks it in. Might have rolled her ankle.
It was a spectacular one for the Mustangs.
Driving.
Yeah, makes it.
From Gatland
And that'll pretty much.
sorry. Thompson in front of her, hands it off to Kirby.
Even though the Hawks tried to fight back, but it was too late.
Gatwood thought about it, drove instead. Oh, nice little head fake. Gets it to go.
And they'll have pressure up the court here.
It was spectacular for Maitland, who was just too good right throughout the entire
I
game.
don't think.
Here's the
And of course, the Mustangs managing to win.
Maitland's happy to
71-61.
Falcons in transition.
But meanwhile, in the other game, the
great
Newcastle
pass.
But meanwhile, in the other game, the Newcastle Falcons also had a win, this time against the Sutherland Sharks. It was spectacular for Newcastle, who were just too good. Newcastle led 55 to 39.
As you mentioned, Jake, tries to go into McGuinness.
Now they lead 60 to 45 to officially wrap up round one.
So 10-point game, 72 seconds remaining in this one. Kleeman gets out of it. Hannah Chicken into King.
Of course, it's going to become a massive one.
Favour. Quite tonight.
It was a massive one for the Falcons.
Ebsbury almost trips. Gets it back there. Emily Foy buries the three on the shot clock.
It was great for the women.
And McGuinness just flicks it up, but it's off target, so it is.
But unfortunately, both Maitland and Newcastle's men's side fell short of a victory. But thankfully, there was good news for the Central Coast Crusaders up at home as they managed to defeat Hornsby with a huge victory. It was massive for the Central Coast, who were just too good.
She busts out, and Crusaders are everywhere.
It's right in front of a home crowd right up in Gosford. And because of that, in front of a local crowd,
Madison Penn with another rebound.
screaming and cheering with excitement.
Oh, Pittman inside.
Of course, the Crusaders led 83 to
Kicks it out.
36.
Johnny Whitworth, the Wisconsin
And of course, with the women, and of course, with the women becoming the first to
A
score.
little bit too soon.
Well, she didn't want two, she wanted three. Cross court all the way across to Mundy.
But it wasn't just three, it was, of course, much more.
Great handoff to Sarah Matthews, who should put this in.
And she
this
certainly
time she
did.
does. Under a minute left in this game.
There was about a minute left on the clock.
Picked a pocket, but Mundine is good enough for a
punished it.
switch around three.
Oh, come on, Erica. Put a shot up, Erica. You're a 99, girl.
Coach Miko said no.
But of course, the Crusaders won at 97 to 43. But meanwhile, there was good news for the Central Coast Crusaders men. They took down Hornsby with a huge 71 victory
To Sapia.
right up at home in Gosford.
Much better option.
Cuts the margin to 8. Loader. Spins.
It was a
Passes
much
off to
better
McCann.
option.
Oh, rejected there by Matchar. But McCann is still there. Gets it back from Loader.
With the crowd cheering on, it was just, it was massive for the home side.
Rejected. Great work by Fraser. Finds Sapia.
As Hornsby tried to fight back, the Central Coast were just too good.
5-point game. 14 seconds. Great pass. Bates. Rejected by Fraser. Fraser with, I think, his second or third block of the game. And we have got...
But of course, the match finished with the Central Coast winning 80 points to 71.
80 points to 71.
This afternoon marked the end of the Newcastle 500. But also, it was a dramatic one with a lot of crashes and also a lot of frills and spills. It's something you don't see every day.
He's whacked the wall and he's nudged it in. So he got the apex and thrashed that wall on the inside, and that is not a good look. And it's the first time this weekend that we've genuinely seen a car damaged. Let's have a listen to this.
And it certainly was. Because of that, race 2 got suspended after one of the tradie Fords crashed. It comes after both Fraser and Jones collided off the line. But then, moments later, disaster struck once again.
A very aggressive. Lights on for the Monster Mustang. Cam Waters. See those margins. He's basically gaining 5 to 6 tenths of a second per lap. But now when you look at the body language, Chaz has got his hands full. He's become a speedway driver. All of a sudden, the car's so oversteering on the way out of the corner, he's trying to straighten the exits up, but he has to slow himself down too much to be able to do it. So watch the back of the hit the fence. Oh, that was a great save. He hit the fence on the left-hand side, Cam Waters, that time, at the apex, and almost went to the fence on the right-hand side. Now he's checking the steering. Has he bent the steering?
Also, because of that,
I think he might have bent the steering.
Waters made contact with the fence. Of course, even though Van Gisbergen was stripped of his first and second placings yesterday, he eventually beat Chaz Mostert this afternoon. It was eventually a Sunday thriller.
Turn 9 with the wall, bent the steering arm, and that lit this guy off the hook. Mostert was able to do his own.
First, it was Chaz Mostert.
Pit lane all weekend because of the new refueling system, because of the new wheel rims, wheel nuts, and circlips that are a bit of a challenge as well. And so,
Then crashes were occurring.
Strategies, different plans, older and younger tyres. We had an awkward stop for David Reynolds, which allowed James Golding to get by, and then he rectified it with great pace and younger tyres. And off the back end, we saw this terrific battle unfold between Shane Van Gisbergen and Chaz Mostert. Shane had 12 lap younger.
Both Van Gisbergen and Mostert were both battling it out for first place.
Contact, and he shuffled Chaz Mostert out of the way.
And of course, an investigation had to be underway.
Chaz Mostert actually returned the serve down there at turn 11, but he had nothing in the way of firepower with the rubber on that car at the back end to be able to do anything about it.
But then after that, Van Gisbergen was blasted for his for being silent after his controversial win. And because of that, he refused to answer any questions in a tense media standoff, which occurred this afternoon. But before that, SVG, as he's known as, said this: shuffled out of the way as he returns to serve, tempers and later threatened to erupt. Van Giers, who was stripped of the season opening race win right on Saturday due to his team's incorrect use of dry ice as a cooling device, charged from fifth to take the lead on the penultimate lap. Supercars great Neil Crompton said there was no doubt the incident would be reviewed. He said, "This will be an interesting one because I've no doubt that WAU, they'll have something to say about that." He said, "They'll erupt in there. It will be two dramatically different sides to the story. They'll argue where they were unfairly moved out of the way. It is a contact sport. Will there be more to the story? He shuffled Chaz Mostert out of the way." It is the second time AAA and Walkinshaw Andretti United have been at loggerheads this weekend after the WAU and Tickford Racing both lodged successful protests against Van Gisbergen and teammate Brock Feeney's use of dry ice in their Race 1 victory. The Red Bull duo were later stripped of their 1-2 race result. Round 13 of the Newcastle District Cricket has all but wrapped up, and because of that, Hamwicks have all but secured a win over Toronto, while Belmont has beaten Merewether. Elsewhere, West have secured a win over the University of Newcastle, while Wallsend managed to outclass Waratah. Also, Charlestown District defeated Stockton and Northern Districts, while Cardiff defeated Newcastle City. To the second week of the Central Coast Cricket Finals, and of course, Northern Power have defeated Kincumber Avoca with an 8 to 341 to 10 to 235 win, and are now through to the grand final. Well, round 15 of the Tamworth District Cricket is all but over, and because of that, we're getting close to the grand final of it. And also, because of that, Tamworth City has defeated North Tamworth with a 10 to 163 to 2 to 58. And also, South Tamworth has all but defeated the Old Boys. To me, North Coast cricket, and in the finals, the Macquarie Hotel has secured a win over Leagues, 8 to 252 to 10 to 113, while Warhope also had a win in the elimination final. To round 21 of the far North Coast cricket, which is the last one, and of course, Lennox Head has defeated Ballina with a huge 7 to 286 to 10 to 129. While Bangalore has defeated Tweed. Meanwhile, Cudgeon has defeated Alstonville with a 5 to 242 to 6 to 244. Meantime, Pottsville has secured a win. Meantime, Byron Bay is through to the finals as well after beating Moolumbar. Coming up, the Newcastle Knights celebrate after their win over the West Tigers.
We want to see your dreams come true. And the reason that we're here today is just because of you. This is our town. It's here that we're born and bred. We've been through the rough times, been through the tough times, know about the good times ahead. We know how to do it your way. Build it up in your own hometown. Make it grow with the people you know. People who won't let you down. And we wanna go with you. Wanna keep it growing, wanna keep it going, and we know where you're going to. This is our town. It's here that we're born and bred. Wanna see you growing, wanna see you going, wanna keep you moving ahead. Belongs to you and me, and the Newcastle permanent is our society. Hey, this is our town. Hey, this is our town. Our town.
Go Harvey Norman for 36 months interest-free terms. 36 months interest-free on computers, printers, scanners, fax machines, and much more. 36 months interest-free terms now at Harvey Norman. Minimum purchase $500, one-third deposit. Conditions apply. See store for details.
Harvey Norman, go! Sailing away on the crest of a wave, it's like magic. Rolling and riding, slipping and sliding, it's magic. Ooh, and your sweet desire.
Dowling would like to thank our many valued clients for helping us to expand to our 14th office here at New Lambton. Nobody can offer better real estate service than Dowling, supporting local business, charities and sporting bodies.
The Dowling goal is great real estate service.
Dial Dowling!
There's no bias at Dowling. Dial Dowling.
At Dowling, you're always on a winner.
Dial Dowling.
Dial Dowling!
Buying or selling.
Dial Dowling!
Wake up in the morning, gotta get because the Herald is the best way to start your day.
Call M&H Air, your local Temper Zone air conditioning experts, for sales, installation and service on all Temper Zone split system and ducted air conditioning. Call 1-800-444-911 for service.
M&H Air!
Call M&H Air, your local Dakin air conditioning experts, for sales, installation and service on all Dakin split system and ducted air conditioning. Call 1-800-444-911 for service.
M&H Air!
The big red ball from the bush to the bay. Yes, it's lotto. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. It's the big one you want. It's the game for you. 'Cause it's the big red ball that makes dreams come true. Dreams come true. Dreams come true. The big red ball. The big red ball. It's the big red ball that makes dreams come true.
There was an amount of celebrations for the Newcastle Knights last night after they secured a 14-12 win over the West Tigers up at Leichhardt Oval in Sydney last night. It was all part of Lachlan Fitzgibbon's 100th game for the club. But then after that, Dominic Young extended the Knights' lead.
That's well orchestrated. Really well orchestrated.
Then finally it all came for the Knights. They managed to perform their team victory song right up in the dressing room as they managed to as they have a home game on Friday to take on the Dolphins and hoping to make it 2 from 2 wins. To round 2 of the Hunters NPL men's competition, and Charlestown Azuri has defeated Valentine Phoenix with a 3-0 win. It was just massive for Charlestown, who were just too strong for their rivals right throughout the game. Meantime, in the other games, Maitland defeated New Lambton 9-1, while Newcastle Olympic managed to defeat Lake Macquarie. Also, Adamstown Rosebud and Cooks Hill United were forced to share the points, while the Western Workers outclassed the Lambton Jaffers, and also Edgeworth defeated Broadmeadow Magic. Meantime, in round 2 of the Hunters NPL women's competition, and Adamstown has secured an 8-1 win over Warners Bay. It was hard for Warners Bay, who of course couldn't produce a win. and went down by that score. But meanwhile, in the other games that occurred, Newcastle Olympic managed to defeat Maitland, while Broadmeadow had a win over Mid Coast. Also, Charlestown Azuri had a win over Nearlampton. To round 3 of the Anzac Day Cup, and Ballina secured a win over Alstonville, while Granellabos secured a victory over Pottsville. Of course, that's about it, and from all of us here, good night.